Hey guys, Amaryllis are by far one of my favorite houseplants. Every fall I'm adding more and more bulbs to my collection. Now, Amaryllis aren't as difficult as you may think to care for, especially when you get the swing of their growth cycle and the different stages that you kind of need to be mindful of. Now, I've done a handful of videos on Amaryllis because I love them so much, and I've talked a lot about in these videos about after bloom care, or I've done a couple of videos on what you need to do while they are in bloom and that kind of thing, but I've never really done a complete full year-round sort of the whole thing from start to end in one specific video, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today in this video for you. Now, this complete care guide year-round for your Amaryllis is really going to stick to the essential, the most important, critical information that you need to know if you are looking for those extra little tips and tricks during bloom care or after bloom care. Then definitely check out the videos that I have referred to and mentioned. Alright guys, so as you can see here, I have about 14 varieties of Amaryllis, and this year I've really kind of focused on, and particularly what's in bloom right now, is everything from those light pinks you can kind of see over here to corals and all the way to dark reds, which is really cool. But do know that Amaryllis do come in a huge variety. There's a ton of different colors. There are single and doubles, which refer to the amount of petals. So you can see like something like this is like more of a double, this is more of a single, and there's variety when it comes to their height, how tall the stalk is, and how the flowers kind of come out and how close they are, like the one all the way over there to something like this, which is a little bit more spread out. All right, so for all intensive purposes, I think it makes most sense to divide this video up into 3 sections. Now, the first part is really gonna cover that timing and the whole stage from potting up your Amaryllis from its bulb state into its pot all the way up until flowering. Now, the second part of this video is gonna cover that second stage, which is once the flowers have died down and you're left with your Amaryllis bulb and just the foliage and leaves. And now that's the longest sort of timing. And the third part and the third section of this video is really going to focus on dormancy, how that all goes down, what you need to know, and how you can do that. And that final and third stage is really important because that's what's going to allow your Amaryllis bulb to rebloom, reflower the following season. Now, I'm also going to be breaking down the timing and the time of year that all of these stages or phases should be taking place. Of course, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, if not, then you can kind of focus on all of the timing in terms of seasonality, because generally these timings or time of year are sort of focused on different seasons. So it should be fairly easy to follow regardless of where you are in the world. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm Tyler, and if you like what you're seeing or you find this video to be useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, or better yet, you can subscribe to my channel. All right, so typically Amaryllis aren't for sale or available at your local nursery until the fall time. So once you've potted up your bulbs, and it's a good idea to do that in a terracotta pot with some really sort of loose, well-draining soil. It does take anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks for that bulb to develop some stalks, flower buds, and that kind of thing, foliage. So 6 to 10 weeks for that whole first process to occur. And if you haven't grown Amaryllis bulbs before, it is good to know that each bulb will put out 2 or more stalks with buds and flowers on it that may kind of come out kind of at the same time, or maybe consecutively, one after the other. All right, so here are the most important tips to consider during this first stage when you have potted up your Amaryllis and they are on their way to flowering. When it comes to watering your Amaryllis, you are going to want to give them a good watering when you first potted them up with the bulb only, and then you're not going to want to water them until you start to see new growth being pushed out of the bulb. For example, the flower bud. Once that has happened, you can just very lightly water your Amaryllis about every week or thereabouts. Now, in terms of lighting, you're going to want to ensure that your Amaryllis bulbs are getting good, really good, bright, indirect light. If you can put them in a spot where they're getting really nice, bright morning light, then they can get a little bit more direct light, but you don't want to give them too much direct light in the afternoons. That's kind of harsh light that you want to avoid. In terms of fertilizing Amaryllis, you do not want to fertilize them once you potted them up with the bulb until at all in this first stage. So no need to fertilize, no need to worry about that at all when you first pot them up or when they're growing or flowering. Now, the final tip that I want to share with you guys for this first stage is pruning. It's a really good idea to, deadhead flowers once they are starting to die back. Once all of the flowers have died back on one particular stalk, you can go ahead and cut off that entire stalk closer to the bulb, but leaving an inch or two from the base. If you guys are interested in more content like this, don't hesitate to leave a comment down below or give this video a thumbs up. Now, to really show me some love, click on the bell for alerts and notifications for future content. Okay, so let's talk about the second stage or phase of this video and Amaryllis. Now, this is once the bulb has finished flowering. There's no more flowers coming in. It's only the bulb in the pot with some foliage. Now, this is frankly one of the simplest, phases for Amaryllis in terms of care, but it's often overlooked by a lot of folks. I get a lot of questions about this. Hey, Tyler, I didn't know that you were supposed to do this. So it is really important phase of this, and it is actually one of the longest phases in terms of timing as well. So let's jump into what exactly all needs to happen in terms of care for this second phase after the Amaryllis have finished blooming. All right, so let's quickly touch base on the timing and seasonality of this first and second stage. So you got your Amaryllis bulb in the fall. Now you would have planted it in and around November because it's gonna take those 6 to 10 weeks for them to flower. Typically most people want that to happen over the holidays. So now that has come and gone. We're talking about the second stage after you have cut back the flower stalks, you've left the foliage intact on the bulb, and you're probably sitting at in and around late January or sometime in February. So like I said, this is the longest stage, and this is going to kind of occur from, like I said, late January, early February, all the way up until the end of the summer kind of thing. Now, there are only a couple of care tips or care things that you really need to focus on. So like I said, it's kind of simple, but this is the most important stage that's often overlooked because this is when the bulb is using the foliage to kind of regain energy and get ready to plump up again and getting ready for that next bloom cycle. So like I said, there are a couple of things that you really want to focus on. So you want to keep your bulbs with all of their foliage in that same bright, receiving bright indirect light or good morning light. This is really important, and you are going to want to water them, but I'm going to touch on watering in just a second because there is kind of a critical point there. And this is also the time when you are going to be fertilizing your Amaryllis bulbs along with watering them, like I said. So in terms of fertilizing them, you're going to want to use a well-balanced liquid diluted fertilizer. every couple of weeks during this sort of second phase. Now, the really important thing you need to consider is watering. So after you have cut back the stalks, the bulb has stopped flowering, you're just left with the foliage. You're gonna want to give your Amaryllis a little bit of a water break. So there should be a week or two at the end of January or in February, once the flowers are gone, where you're not watering the bulb at all for at least a week or two. And that's gonna kind of help the whole plant kind of reset for this second phase. So once you've given it a water break, then you can start to water it ever so lightly, weekly throughout the summer months, as well as providing it with some of that well-balanced liquid diluted fertilizer, and that's going to really take you up into about mid-August or early September. And that brings us up into the third section of this video, the final sort of growth phase, or it's not, the growth phase is during the summer. This is the kind of the dormancy period that we need to talk about. Also very critical for getting your Amaryllis to rebloom. So let's jump into that right now. All right, guys, so in terms of the dormancy period for Amaryllis, this should really be about 2 months. They need about 2 months, if not a little bit more, for dormancy. So in practical terms, we're talking about the entire month of September and October, if not a little bit beforehand and or afterwards. So you may want to think about doing this mid-August or some kind of where in and about, so that the bulbs are getting at least 2 to 3 months in the sort of dormancy phase. So let me tell you what that means, how to do it. It's really simple. And again, this is really critical if you are interested, which we all are, in getting our Amaryllis to rebloom. So what you need to do, you can either keep your Amaryllis in their pots, or you can remove the bulbs. Now, at this point, again, from the growth stage, that stage we just talked about over the course of the summer, your Amaryllis will have a whole bunch of huge, beautiful green foliage coming out of it. And at this point, you are going to either want to let that die back, or you can actually kind of prune that foliage off. So your bulb should be looking a lot more plump and nice because it's kind of regained some energy over the course of the summer. And pro tip, make sure that you, if you are keeping them in their pots or not, that you label your Amaryllis bulbs, because they all look the same once you've removed them, or they don't have any flowers or foliage on them. So it's important for the next season to know which bulb is which, if that's important to you. All right, so for this dormancy phase, which is going to last, like I said, 2 to 3 months, you actually do need to physically move your Amaryllis bulbs in their pot or not. So to effectively get the dormancy period going, there are certain conditions that you need to provide that are different than when your plant is out kind of in your living space or wherever you've kept it on a windowsill, that kind of thing. So for dormancy, you are going to want to move your Amaryllis bulbs somewhere which is a dry, dark, cool place. So a basement or a garage is a great place to keep your Amaryllis for this 2 to 3 month period. You do not need to or want to or should water them. No fertilizer, nothing. Basically, you're keeping them in a dry, cool place so that they can reset and put energy into developing the buds and flowers in the bulb and that kind of thing before bringing them back out again. I get a ton of questions if you don't about where to keep them if you don't have a garage or a basement. So in previous years, I have kept Amaryllis bulbs in like a shoebox in a nice cool dry cupboard, just nice and tucked away so that you can try to replicate the dormancy period in your cupboard if you don't, like I said, have a garage or a basement to keep them. And that's basically it. Once the dormancy, those 8 to 10, 12 weeks of dormancy have come and gone, you can pull them out from the garage or the basement and put them back out into a nice spot where they're getting that morning sun or good bright indirect light. You're going to want to give them 1 healthy watering, and then wait again, like I said in that first phase, until you see new growth coming out, and then the whole cycle starts over again. Well, that's it for me. Oh yeah, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up or hit that subscribe button. Miss you guys already. Until the next one.